Hello guys, hope all of you are well in this difficult situation. Welcome to my lecture series. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Rinki Bhaumik, Assistant Professor, Department of Physics, JIS College of Engineering. Today's lecture is for first year. For first year, the paper name is Physics 1 and the paper code is EH101. The name of the paper is Physics 1 and 3 credits. There will be 3 lectures per week. Total 36 number of lectures will be there for all of you. This is for BTech first year as I said. Now let me show you your syllabus. This is your syllabus. First, this is module 1. In module 1, there is waves and oscillation. In module 2, there is classical optics where we have to discuss about interference of light and diffraction of light. In module 3, there is quantum mechanics 1 where we'll discuss about quantum theory and quantum mechanics. In module 4, there is solid state physics 1 where we'll discuss about crystal structure and semiconductors. And in the last module, that is module 5, we'll discuss about modern optics where there is laser and fiber optics. So this is your syllabus and these are some books which is recommended for all of you. Today we are going to derive a relation, an expression, that is the expression of the interplanar spacing. Interplanar spacing. This is interplanar spacing whose standard notation is D. We denote it with D. Now D equal to, the expression is A divided by root over of h square plus k square plus l square. Now h, k, l are the Miller indices which we discussed in our last class. Now before we prove this expression, let me explain what is interplanar spacing. What is interplanar spacing? To do it, first we have to draw this cube. We have to draw this cube. Now this is the cube where this is the first plane. This is the first plane. Okay. Whose, this is suppose A, means this is x-axis, this is y-axis, this is z-axis. Now, if we consider ON, this is O, this is A. So this is the figure. Okay. Now before that, let me tell you what is interplanar spacing. Interplanar spacing is the space between two planes. That means if we consider D1 is the distance of first plane, D1 is the distance of first plane. d2 equal to distance of second plane. Therefore, the interplanar spacing d will be d1, d2 minus d1. d2 minus d1. This is the definition of the interplanar spacing. Now, first we have to prove the expression of d1, then we have to prove the expression of d2. Okay, so how to do it? First, if we consider ABC, ABC is a plane. If ABC is a plane and if we consider ON is perpendicular to ABC, ON is perpendicular to ABC. Therefore, can we say that the distance ON equal to D1? What does it mean? That D1 is the distance of the first plane from so ON equal to D1. Now we have to find out the expression of D1 first, then we have to find out the expression of D. So to do it first, if we have to consider, okay. Now OA equal to A by H, OB equal to B by K, and OC equal to C by L. OA equal to A by H, OB equal to B by K, OC equal to C by L. So this is the consideration. Now let me tell you how we can write it. First of all, if we consider P, Q, R, P, Q, R is the coordinate of ABC. Coordinate of ABC. So coordinate of ABC is for the plane ABC. Now can we write P equal to 1 by H, Q equal to 1 by K, R equal to 1 by L. So therefore this one we know from our class because the coordinate is reciprocal of the Miller indices. Also Q equal to 1 by K, R equal to 1 by L. So therefore can we write OA equal to A by H, OB equal to B by K, and OC equal to C by L. So this is the consideration. Now what is the significance of A? Let me explain. By A, what we can say that OA equal to A means it gives the x coordinate, B gives the y coordinate, and C gives the z coordinate. Also the significance is if it is parallelogram instead of Q, that means ABC are not same. Okay, so from that we can write it. Now can we write here first cos square alpha plus cos square theta plus cos square gamma is equal to 1. So this is the formula as we know. Now we have to calculate what is cos alpha. Before that, what is alpha? Alpha is the angle between ON and OA. Beta is the angle. Let me write here. Alpha is the angle between ON and OA. Beta is equal to angle between ON and OB. and gamma is the angle between ON and OC. Angle between ON and OA, ON and OB, and ON and OC. Therefore, cos alpha equal to, we can write as, since base by hypotenuse, therefore cos alpha equal to, we can write ON by OA. Cos beta equal to ON by OB, and also cos gamma equal to ON by OC. From the figure we can write it. See, alpha equal to, alpha is the angle between ON and OA. Now if you go to the figure, therefore what is the base? ON, and hypotenuse is obviously OA. Now if we consider beta, which is the angle between ON and OB, therefore it will be clear from the figure. Since it is 3 dimension, so it's not possible to draw it fully, but we can understand from the figure that beta equal to ON. ON is the base and OD is the hypotenuse. Similarly, ON by OC. Thus, we can here write cos alpha equal to ON by OA, cos beta equal to ON by OB, cos gamma equal to ON by OC. Now since cos square alpha plus cos square beta plus cos square gamma is equal to 1, okay, therefore what we can write here, that ON square, okay, ON square. Now as we know, O1 by OA, okay, OA equal to A by H, therefore we can write here H square by A square plus A square by B square plus L square by C square is equal to 1. Therefore ON equal to 1 by root over of H square by A square plus K square by B square plus L square by C square. This we can write. So now this is the expression of ON, that is D1. Now if we consider all the sides are same, that means since cubic, therefore we can write A equal to B is equal to C. This is the consideration for the cubic units. Therefore we can write as ON equal to D1. If you go to the last page, then what we can write, D1, and here it will be 1 by, I am not doing any step jump, okay, I am doing elaborately, that will be better, because ON equal to, therefore 1 by root over of H square by A square plus K square by B square plus L square by, this will be all will be A square, because now we have considered that this is not at all parallelogram but it is cubic. So therefore ON equal to will be A by root over of H square plus K square plus L square is equal to D1. Next, D2. D2 means just the next plane of ON. Okay, just the next plane of ON. In that case, if we consider OA becomes OA prime, that will be nothing but 2A by H. or you can write as 2a by h. OB prime will be 2b by k, and also OC prime will be 2c by l. Okay, so these are the length. Just the next length, that means can we write as, therefore ON1 is equal to D ON1 equal to D2. That is the length, means distance of the next plane from the origin. ON equal to D2 will be equal to what we can write as 1 by root over of, if we put OA prime, OB prime and OC prime in cos alpha, cos beta, cos gamma, then finally what we can write, h square by 4a square plus k square by 4a square plus l square by 4a square. So finally we can write here 2a divided by root over of h square plus k square plus l square. That means, interestingly, what we are getting here, twice of a divided by root over of h square plus k square plus l square. That means, can we write d equal to d2 minus d1? That means, what we can get here, if this is the origin, this is suppose d1 and this is suppose d2, then d2 minus d1, if we do the subtraction, then finally we can get the distance between them. Therefore d equal to d2 minus d1, so is equal to a divided by root over of h square plus k square plus l square. So this is the expression of the interplanar spacing, that is d equal to a divided by root over of h square plus k square plus l square. Now instead of cubic unit cell, if it is a parallelogram, then what will be the expression? A square by a square plus k square by b square plus l square by c square. And from that, if we put the values, then we can get the expression of the interplanar spacing. So this is the expression of the interplanar spacing. Next, we are going to discuss about Bragg's law. It is very important. Bragg's law. So what is Bragg's law? First, there is a Bragg's equation. Okay. Now let me tell you what is the Bragg's equation. 2d sin theta is equal to n lambda. This is the Bragg's equation, or this we can say as Bragg's law. Now we will know about the statements also. So what is d, what is theta, what is lambda, each we have to know. Suppose we consider this is the first plane and this is the second plane. Okay, now a ray is incident on the first plane and then scattering happens. This is the first plane. Now about the second plane. Before that, let me tell you about the interplanar spacing. This is d. This is d. Now this is the ray incident on an atom and then reflected back. Reflection occurs here. So Bragg derived this equation from this figure. 2d sin theta is equal to n lambda. Now what is theta? Theta is nothing but the incident angle. Therefore also theta is a reflection angle. Here we are considering that this is nothing but the reflected angle. Okay, so let me tell you briefly about the figure. If we draw it, same figure but in a broad manner. Theta, this is also theta. Okay, incident, reflection, also here incident, reflection. This is the figure. So now what is n? N is nothing but the reflection number. If you have to do some numerical, then you can see here that first order reflection, second order reflection. So n is nothing but the order number. N is nothing but the order number. Lambda equal to wavelength. Lambda equal to wavelength, n is the order number, and theta is the incident angle. Now, what is the Bragg's law? What is the statement of Bragg's law? Bragg said that if the path difference, if the path difference if the path difference is equal to 2d sin theta, which is equal to multiple integer of wavelength, is equal to n lambda, path difference equal to 2d sin theta is equal to multiple integer of the wavelength, then we can say that constructive interference occurs. So this was said by Bragg's law, that's why it is called Bragg's law. Okay. Now first we have to prove it. How to prove it? Let me do it. Here this is the perpendicular. Here also this is the perpendicular we have drawn. This will not be here. Now if this is theta, then this will also be theta. If this is theta, this will be also theta. So how to prove it we'll do on the next class, but this is your task. You first try to find out yourself that from this figure how you can prove 2d sin theta. Means here you have to prove, suppose there are two waves like A, B and C, and here D, E and F. If two waves are there, then you try to first prove yourself. Okay, that will be good. You first try to prove yourself that how the path difference can be 2d sin theta. Okay, let me give you the hints. Here you have to use the geometrical formula. Okay, by the geometry you can prove that the path difference is 2d sin theta. The path difference is 2d sin theta. This is your task. Okay, this is your assignment. Now let me do the summary for today. Here it is done. Here we have first proved the expression of the D, that is interplanar spacing. Now D equal to A divided by root over of h square plus k square plus l square. Now suppose you know the expression of HKL. Now if you know A, then you can calculate D. On the next class we will do some numerical actually here. So here first we have considered D1 is the distance of the first plane, then D2 is the distance of the second plane. Therefore the interplanar spacing, that means the space between two planes will be D2 minus D1. So here ON is perpendicular to OBC and ON equal to D1 we considered. Therefore cos square alpha plus cos square beta plus cos square gamma is equal to 1. Now ON square into h square by a square plus k square by b square plus l square by c square. So here we have just put the value expression of cos alpha cos beta gamma, where we have written here cos alpha equal to ON by OA, cos beta equal to ON by OB and cos gamma equal to ON by OC. So finally ON equal to 1 by root over of h square by a square plus k square by b square plus l square by c square, where alpha is the angle between ON and OA, beta is the angle between ON and OB and gamma equal to ON by OAC. Thus using this process we have proved here ON equal to 1 by root over of h square by a square plus k square by b square plus l square by c square. Now since we have cubic unit cell, therefore A equal to B equal to C. Therefore ON equal to A divided by root over of h square plus k square by l square plus c square. Now on the next plane we have proved D2 equal to 2A divided by this one. Therefore finally we can write D equal to D2 minus D1 equal to A divided by root over of h square plus k square plus l square. And then we have
clearly a direction based off of the bracket choice. So if we're going to go 1, 1, 0, what would that look like for this unit cell? So it would look like this, and pretty much you can think you go 1 in the A direction, which is goes straight towards the A axis, along the A axis, and you hit the corner of the unit cell. Then you go 1 up along the B axis in the positive direction, and then you don't go anywhere in the C. So notice how this is at the base of this cube here. So that would be the direction shown there. Next, for planes, the way you can figure out what they look like is a really cool trick. You take the reciprocal of the coordinates. Since the rule for planes in Miller indices is that they have to be integers, by taking the reciprocals you kind of unitize your plane and get specifically which one you're looking for. So if you take the reciprocal of 3, you get 1 over 3. You take the reciprocal of 2, you get 1 over 2. And mathematically, technically, if you take the reciprocal of 0, you get infinity. And I'll tell you what that means in a minute. But first, let's plot the first two parts. So go 1/3 along the a-axis. That would be right there at that little tiny blue mark there. Now go to 1/2 on the b-axis, and that'd be half of the unit cell. So we're going to go the halfway point. So look, we're made a line there. Now the infinity, or the 0 in this case, pretty much means that you are parallel to the axis of that coordinate. So that is the c coordinate, so for the c-axis there. So that means we have to be parallel to c at all times. So we simply just draw a line parallel to c, and you can see that c there, that plane will never touch the c-axis if you extend the plane. And that's your 3, 2, 0 plane. Next, let's take the reciprocal of the 2, 2, 0 plane. So the reciprocal of 2 is 1/2. The reciprocal of 2 again is 1/2, and then we're going to do the mathematical trick. It's the reciprocal of 0 is infinity, to show that we're looking for parallel to that axis. So same thing, is very similar to the previous one, except being at 1/3, we're at 1/2, and then we're at 1/2 again, and then again parallel to C. Next, I gave it away. See if you can figure this one out. With, so you have 0, 1, 1. This is a direction now, so you're not going anywhere on the A direction, and then you're just going to go 1 in the B direction, and then 1 high in the C direction. It's pretty much plotting a 45-degree line in 2D coordinates if you ignore the A axis, and you consider your B as your X and your C as your Y. It's one way to think about it. Here we got the 1, 1, 1, so we're going to go 1 in the A direction, then 1 in the B direction, and then 1 in the C direction. So we go out towards A, to the right with B, and then up with C, and you should be reaching that top right corner there. Finally, we got one more plane. We're going to take the reciprocals. So we got 1/1 is 1, and 1/2, or the reciprocal of 2 is 1/2, and then the reciprocal of 1 is 1. So simply connect those dots. So we're going to hit the edge there for the A axis, and then we're going to hit the edge of the B axis there. Or no, sorry, we're going to go halfway because it's 1/2 in the B area, and then all the way up in C. So make a nice little triangle kind of here. And that's your plane. So pretty cool, huh? Alright, so now if we want to answer these questions, it says, for the body-centered cubic structure, which of the above directions, or in this case previous directions, are the closest path directions? So looking at these, we have to figure out which is the closest packed direction for body-centered cubic. So first, before we can even answer that question, let's go over the types of structures briefly and quickly. So we're going to just look at these three structures: cubic, body-centered cubic, and face-centered cubic, to give you an idea of what they look like real quick. The one here on the left is a face-centered cubic. You have a simple cubic structure with an atom at every corner of the cube, and then you have one atom at the center of every face, if you can see that image there. And the one on the right there is a body-centered cubic. You have a cubic cell with the atom at the middle. So that's B. The one on the right is BCC, body-centered cubic. The one on the left is FCC, face-centered cubic. So now we have those structures. If you have those pictures in mind, the closest packed direction is the edge for cubic. To give you an idea of what that looks like, here's your cube, and the edge is simply that lower part. It could be any edge, really. And that just means the atoms are the closest touching at those points. You can prove that mathematically, but I'm just going to show you geometrically in the visual representation. So BCC, body-centered cubic, is the closest packed direction along the body diagonal, and that's that red line there, so cutting like diagonally through the cube there. So if you go back here, you'd be going from the bottom left atom there through the gray atom and hitting the upper right atom in the back would be your body diagonal. And then finally we have your FCC, and that would be going along your face diagonal as your closest packed direction, which just means where the atoms are the tightest, where they're touching, essentially touching. So that would be, if you choose one of the 6 faces, you pick a face and then you choose that diagonal, because there's an atom on the middle of every face, that is the closest packed direction. So going back to the question here, for the body-centered cubic structure for B, which of the above directions, look at the directions, is the closest packed direction for body-centered cubic? So that means we're looking for the body diagonal. So the body diagonal would have to be a 1, 1, 1, because we have to go through. So that would be this middle bottom one here would show the direction of the closest packed area there, or closest packed direction. So that would be the 1, 1, 1, and that is the body diagonal. Next one was for face-centered cubic, which above or behind are the closest packed directions. So we're looking for the face diagonal since it's face-centered cubic, and we're looking for the direction. So pretty much we're looking for a diagonal along a face of a cube. Do you see that anywhere? Well, lower left, you got 0, 1, 1. You're on the rear face, and you're going across the diagonal there. So that would be your 1, 1, 0, or I think I wrote it 0, 1, 1. I should have written there, but 1, 1, 0 would also work as well. Cool. Well, that's it for this video. I'll make another one as well. I just thought I'd give a little tutorial on some Miller indices and going over some structures in material sciences when it comes to unit cells. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and good luck and keep practicing.